This is Hardy Brute with another run of Drill Core. Today we're going to play on difficulty number 4 because we're trying to complete a challenge. We're not going to play with any turrets, and we're also going to take out the Spore boss on the jungle planet. I'm going to do this run with the humans because I haven't played with them too much, and we're going to start with the Machine Gun Watchtower, a new watchtower that we've unlocked recently. So let's get it started. In order to survive till the end and past the boss, we're going to have that row of machine gun watchtowers, and the rest of our buildings are going to be active buildings. So we're going to have the missile launcher, the laser, maybe some machine gun turrets of our own, and we've also unlocked the Annihilator, so I really hope we get that in this run as well. But I'd like to have at least 3, maybe even 4 if we're lucky, active buildings. If we're lucky enough to make it all the way to the end, we'll unlock the Behemoth, a turret that fires only horizontally, very slowly, but very high damage. So I'm excited to see what that's going to actually be like. My next few runs are going to be focusing on challenges, unlocking all the turrets that we haven't seen, and then testing them out. And we immediately found the Annihilator. Calls down an orbital bombardment. 15 bombs, with each additional building adding 4 to that total, and a cooldown of 18 seconds. That sounds amazing. And I haven't played with it yet, so I have no idea what it looks like. Is it going to fill up the entire tunnel? Because that would really motivate me to build the rest of them as well. Would really increase your DPS and cover a wide area. So it only costs 2 blue, but I kind of want to get the watchtowers online first. Just because they're consistent damage. And because we're not playing the swarm, the humans and the dwarves actually defend at night. So our one guard will actually protect us and keep us in the game, even if our defenses are terrible to start with. But the biggest challenge is going to be the boss later on, because our damage isn't going to be consistent unless we build just rows and rows of watchtowers, which I don't really want to do. I want to focus more on actives and see if it's even possible to survive. Because our last watchtower, the Cannonball, was pretty terrible actually, and I'm not sure how much it actually contributed to the boss battle, because it was our heavily buffed turrets that actually took him out pretty much instantly. Look at how big that is and how much area that covers. It just decimates an entire part of the screen. That's actually going to be great for the boss as well. So I'm definitely going to max out that building. And with an 18-second cooldown, it's actually long enough that we're not going to be able to use it twice. But in the longer fights we will. But that's going to be the challenge of this run. Slowly occurring damage, bit by bit each round until we get to the boss. And we might not even have any life when we get there. We could of course build the repair station and heal per round, fighting the boss at max health to make it much easier. But I feel like that's a cop-out, and I really just want to see if you can survive all on your own with the buildings that you have at hand. The reason we're playing on difficulty number 4 is because that's the requirement for this challenge, to unlock the Behemoth. But also being on a lower difficulty would probably help us out in the long run. I think the game only goes up to difficulty number 10, but after difficulty 7, it adds another 50 depth to the game, and you start with 3 negatives instead of just 2. Currently at difficulty number 4, we only have 1 negative, and both the positive and the negative we got affects turrets, so this game is basically a vanilla level 4, and we can really test out the actives and the watchtower machine gun to see how good it would really do, just under normal circumstances. And we got the active rocket launcher, which I think is one of the better actives as well, especially for the jungle planet. And because we're building so many buildings, let's make them cheaper, because we're going to get 3, 4, maybe even 5 rows of buildings. It's the only thing we can do for defense. I really like the rocket launcher, because you get 3 separate rockets, each one hits in a large area effect, and each additional building you make, it gives you 30% more damage to those rockets. So you can really control where the damage is going. And let's also build our second machine gun watchtower, which will be the first fight to actually see it in action and see how it does. And the worms are a-coming. And I'm not sure he's going to make it, but luckily the worms are smaller on the jungle planet, even though there's 2 of them instead of 1. The machine guns look awesome. They have a cooldown though, but they do a big spray attack between each one. That's going to be really good when we make 5 or 6 of them. Especially with all these little enemies, it's way better than the cannonballs. And I've got a number of unlocks, a number of challenges to still do, but I'm not sure how interested I'm really in playing difficulty 8, 9, 10, at least till the very, very end of these videos, and that really just depends on if people are still interested in seeing this or not. And we got our first dud. But we've also unlocked the ability to get 3-star buildings. So the shield drone costs 2 less iron. It's a nighttime active, which provides a shield of 100 HP every 65 seconds, with a +4 duration for each building you make. But it doesn't actually tell you what the duration is at the base. And also, we can only have 3 active night abilities, which we all need to be doing damage. So I'm probably not going to build that, because surviving isn't as much of an issue as actually taking out the enemy before it does the damage. And we've pretty much cleared out this entire area. The Abyssal Lance was also an active we unlocked recently that I really wanted for this run. It does an extreme powerful laser in a pinpoint location after 3 seconds. It's definitely going to be our boss killer, and I'm probably not going to build it till right before we see the boss, because I think it'll do terribly against these normal waves. We've got most of what we want. We are looking for one passive though, which is this nighttime slot. Wow. We've had some extreme luck this run so far. So now that we have 4 active slots, we can use our 3 damage buildings, and we can even use the defense if we wanted to, or find a 4th damage building, which is probably what I want. So seeing as we've gotten most of what we want, all the rest of these are probably going to be duds. Which is totally fine, because we already have all the items that we want, and we're just looking for some extra gravy at this point. A 4th active building, preferably a 3-star, that would be amazing. That gains a really strong buff for free. The problem now will just be surviving long enough to get our build online, because we do pretty good covering the left with the Watchers. The Annihilator kind of is falling off. There's more and more enemies blocking the bullets. Every time they're destroyed, they split into a smaller enemy, which blocks another bullet. And the active is a bit too long. But that'll definitely change when we build more Annihilators. And after we get our first rocket as well, because it covers lots of area very quickly. But I do hope we can start taking less and less damage as we get online, because for the boss, you probably want to budget around 50% HP, depending on what boss you're fighting, just so you can make sure that you'll get through. We only have to get to a depth of 200, so we gotta drill down 3 times, and this section is already pretty much over. We have the coal here on the ground, and we're just trying to get some extra minerals, so that we can progress further and faster later on. And the main thing holding us back is the reds. But even if we are extremely lucky and find the coal right away, get to depth 200 very, very quickly, we still have to stay and fight the boss for the second part of the challenge. We actually got 2 good passives here, or increased recharge on our Watchers. Let's just get the movement to get the ores, the other buildings online faster, because the only Watcher that we're going to be using is the machine gun, which does pretty good on its own already. It does very, very good to take out these small, little enemies, so we don't have to waste our actives on them. And we've actually mined everything here. We're just going to be waiting for the ore, so I'm going to skip ahead. But not too long after, the worms did start to come, and we had to do another fight as well. So we're definitely going to take some damage here. But there is a meta progression that I was just shy of getting, that any ore onto your drilling platform will be collected when you drill down, which would make this section much, much easier. We could have collected everything and not had to go through this fight. But we are going to lose 20, maybe even 30% health here. So let's get some tech upgrades for our miners, speed up the process, and hopefully this will be our last setback. One of the main reasons I stayed for this fight is because there's at least 2 red ore here at the bottom. So I'll collect it and start the next fight. And with those 2 red, I was able to build a second Annihilator, as well as our first rocket tower. So we're going to be a lot stronger here. But so is the enemy. The rocket, the Annihilator, and the Abyssal Lance are 3 main active buildings. All have a cooldown of 18, and it may just be the fact that all buildings that are active have the 18-second cooldown. But this is a particularly easy wave because all the enemies are slowed by 30%, which is going to give us plenty of times to reset our actives, and we're not actually going to take any damage here, even though we probably would have taken a bit just from these last few enemies here. But we've got plenty of time now. And I definitely want to build our last two Watchers, the machine guns that we can build, on the right side here, so we get less leakage and less extremes from left to right. But once again, we're pretty desperate for some reds here. We already switched our factory to red, but it's going to take 5 to 6 times as long as it does to produce a blue, and it's not a very viable option for immediate reds, because we get a red every day and a half, every 2 days or so. But it will help us in the end. Wow, we got a level 3 drone. Ability recharge speed of 25%, cooldown time of 25, sends out 2 drones to attack the enemies at night, and each one that you build adds an additional drone. This was very needed in the build. We now have every building that I actually want for this run. Besides a few passives that could possibly make the nighttime abilities do more damage or have faster cooldown, but that would just be gravy on top of gravy at this point. So we're floating pretty good right now. We just need to survive to the late game. And we ended up getting 4 reds here. 5 if you count the red that we already spent on the drone. So we got exactly what we needed as soon as we drilled down. And hopefully the bleeding from the right side and the damage we've been taking will be put to an end. I've also defeated the other 2 bosses both phases, and I've never defeated the Spore both phases. So I have no idea what he's going to do when he comes back. And that could be the game changer, or the thing that ends this run. But we'll just see when we get there. And I thought about the worms, so of course they're going to show up now. We lost our only guard, and he's pretty important to our build. I definitely want to finish off the Machine Watchers before anything else, just because they're constant, consistent damage that we don't have to pay attention to. But they'll be good even if we stay underground mining, which I don't think we actually can this run. Ooh, look how fast the drones are. Are they just permanently up there now? Because that would be broken. Got another red, perfect. And the build is really coming together. Ooh, blues and reds. This is very, very nice. And the other 2 upgrades didn't help us at all. I'm tempted to get the extra workers, but I don't really want to spend the blues on it. So I think I'm going to take the repair. And if we end up winning the run with HP above 300, then it doesn't matter that we took it in the first place. But at least it's sort of a safety net, just in case. So we finally maxed out the machine guns. I will probably max out the Annihilator first because it's awesome, and then the rockets. Although the drones are the ones with the extra cooldown. I should focus on those first. So it's drones, Annihilator, rocket, and then the Abyssal Lance right before the boss. That's going to be our building priority. But the drones already look very, very cool. They move and attack quickly, and they just kind of seek out the closest enemy. It's very similar to the Flying Dwarves, but you have a bit more control over it because you can send more or less. You can also get extra ones just by building more buildings. The Dwarves are completely independent, but arguably it might be better just because you get 2 per building. And at this point, the buildings that we choose don't even matter, because we don't want any more buildings. But I'll definitely reroll the passives in case we get a bunch of duds, because there's some good stuff still in there. And we're more than halfway done with this section. We got 2 extra coal from the section before, so we should easily be able to get to a depth of 200, with the boss showing up around day 10 or 11. And we already found our 4th piece of coal, so hopefully if we're really lucky, we might be able to drill down the next day. The mine turret, level 3, gives 30% damage. I really like the concept and the chance of level 3s, but it also makes the building that you choose to start the run, which in our case was the Watchtower machine gun, much, much worse, because it has no stars. But the chance that you're going to find the building you want, and for it to be an upgraded version, is very, very low within the run. And there's no meta progression within the general or the platform, which lets you start with a level 2 or a level 1 building of your choice, which is very, very sad, and could be easy to add to the game. And while I understand it might make the game too easy on certain levels of difficulty, when you have challenge-specific runs and unlocks, it would only add to the theme and the fun aspect of the game, which is what the game should be focusing on. That's one reason why I'm pulling back on difficulties 8, 9, and 10, just because it seems more bothersome and tedious, rather than actually being a challenge. I feel like you'll still complete the run eventually. You'll just have to reset your workers 2, 3, 4, a bunch of times until you finally actually make it. Which in that time you could be overrun, which could end the run for you. But that just makes the tedious bad. And we've got no more guards here, so we've been losing our workers. That's not good. And that's one of the downfalls of not actually having turrets, because when they run away to the platform, the turrets actually shoot downwards and protect the workers. But we have no way to protect them other than our guards. So that's going to set us back a little bit. But honestly, it's only going to be around 30 seconds or so, because we're already back to 6 of 10 workers. 7 of 10. And we really didn't lose too much here. It was also near the end of the day, so we have the entire night to rebuild, if we had a bit more blues to do so. And there's a meteor shower here, so it's actually going to help us defend at night for free. And look how fast the drones are. And they just explode when their timer's done. That is crazy. And the cooldown is so nice that they just fly back immediately to where they died. So it's pretty hilarious. I am glad that the drones give you an extra drone per building, instead of a faster cooldown, or even a faster duration. I'd much rather be doing what we're doing, sending out 4 to 5 drones per time. That is awesome. So we basically recovered all of our workers, and we found 3 coal here at the bottom. But we're not really in a rush to get to 200 depth, to get to the final floor, because we still have to defeat the boss. So taking our time to go down is our best option, especially if you want to be at our strongest when we fight the boss. But we've got a stockpile of reds now, so I may switch our factories back to blue, but those reds really aren't going to last too long. And we've already maxed out the machine gun watcher and the drones. So now we can change our focus back to the Annihilator, and then the rockets, and finally the Abyssal Lance, which says it does extreme damage, but it doesn't give you the number. So hopefully that will be able to take out the boss much, much faster. And once again we've lost all of our guards, so our workers are in danger of being wiped out. So let's rebuild our population again. Hopefully that swarm will ignore us, at least till the guard comes. And it seems like we took care of it not too bad. But our guards are very lacking. Let's avoid the worm. And let's actually drill down, because we've gotten most of the good resources here, especially most of the coal. And the main resource we need is sort of blues right now, even though the reds will be eaten up very quickly when we start using them. Send out the drones. They are making it a decent distance to the bottom though. And they're stealing our workers, the few we have. And they're dropping them back down. Very, very nice game. And they're coming up for a round 2. But after this drill, we've only got one more drill section. And the boss as well. Which we've been doing pretty good at night. But they are adding more and more. And we're getting close to capping out our strength. If the drones don't do enough. And the Annihilator doesn't take out everybody beneath it. Having the rockets do more damage isn't really going to help, because we're dealing with a swarm, a multitude of enemies, more than just one big strong enemy. But we're still maintaining our health pretty good. And when our factories are on blue, we can actually mitigate the loss of our workers underneath the ground. After skipping ahead just a little bit, we actually found 2 blues, and we still have 1 coal from what we gained when we drilled down. But the night is coming, and we found our first coal under here. But any day now, it might even be the next day, the boss should be showing up. I'm going to maintain activating the drones underground, the Annihilator as well, trying to make the most of it. But you can't do that when the worm targets you directly. Because I think the humans can actually live 1 worm hit, but the swarm race can't survive any, and the dwarves actually can survive 3 to 4, at least on the jungle planet. So the dwarves are OP down here. That's something I really like about the game, is that each race feels unique, and they have their own strengths. The humans are supposed to be good at machine guns, and also rechargeable buildings, the general ones like the factories that have the bars underneath. The swarm is good because you don't actually pay for their workers, and you can amass an army very, very quickly. They also have their strength in energy weapons. The dwarves are very good at explosives, and their units are extra strong, so they don't die very often. But I'm actually going to do 3 runs with each one of the races, focusing on their weapon type, and the weapons within that type that we haven't played with before, like the machine gun behemoth that we're trying to unlock in this run. Because each one of those types, each one of those races, also has a final weapon of their type to unlock. So the top tier machine gun, the top tier explosion, and the top tier energy gun. So I definitely want to check those out and see if they're any good. But we now have 3 of 6 coal, and we are on the 11th day, so the boss is right around the corner. And I feel pretty confident about our chances. The Spore boss is rather unusual, because he starts off very big, and then when you defeat him, he splits apart each time, getting smaller and smaller and smaller, until he finally disappears. So I have no idea what his phase 2 will be like. So we just built our final Annihilator, so we only have the rockets and the Abyssal Lance, which they both do a lot of damage single target, but I might focus on the Abyssal Lance if the boss is coming next turn, just because it'd probably help out more. So let's test the Abyssal. Ooh, those 3 seconds are a long time. So I'm glad we're testing it now so we can get used to it. But it's also got the 18-second cooldown, and you just gotta make sure to do it ahead of time. Or wait till they're hitting the core. But he got destroyed before, man. Our drones are just so fast. This is also the ×2 speed, and it'd be much easier to hit without it on. But the Spore Lord is a-coming. We're at 3 coal, we got 1 here on the ground, and if we actually find the 2 last pieces, we could drill down right after the boss if we survive. But we still have a lot of this section to clear out, so I'm not really sure how possible that's going to be. The game will automatically kick you out from underground once the boss appears, protecting all of your workers, so we can play up right up to the worm. It'll also reduce the speed, but I'm not sure we're going to need that too much. Maybe to actually hit the Abyssal Lance. This particular boss, it seems like the Abyssal Lance might not be the most useful, especially because it gets destroyed and split, destroyed and split. There's not one single boss, but they are many. Skipping ahead, we found 1 blue, but we haven't located any coal. So let's actually see how we do against the boss here. The Spore King. And the machine guns are already firing. Let's focus all of our actives and see if it gets taken out the first time. It should be taken out with the Abyssal Lance. And I'm not sure if the Lance hit or he just split at the exact same time. But he didn't have much HP left to begin with. We've got a double split, so this is going pretty good here. And they're in a perfect position for the rocket to hit all 3. The drones are on cleanup, making them split just for that little bit of health. Abyssal Lance on the blue one. And we got that one to split as well. This is going much better than I thought it actually would. Even with the buildings of choice that I wanted, I still wasn't sure how well this would actually go. I also didn't think our Watcher would be very good against this boss, but the Abyssal Lance actually carried its own weight. Is it gonna one-shot this guy? Nice. So that massive damage was no joke. Let's drop the Annihilator, drop the rockets. And there's only a couple left here, which the drones are easily taking out. So that was a pretty easy boss fight. At least the phase 1. Because the other two bosses have 2 phases, but they also retreat. This Spore boss just kind of disappears into dust and the ether. So I'm going to wait around after we drill down and see if he comes back. There might not actually be a phase 2, which I'm kind of leaning towards just because he completely disappears. After 2 days of drilling, we got 1 coal the next day, and we haven't seen any sign of the boss. And on the second day here, we find our final piece of coal. And just to sort of mock us, we find a second extra piece of coal right next to the first. So it is now day 16, 3 days since we fought the boss, and usually the game announces that the boss is coming back after 2 days. So I'm pretty sure we defeated him, and we'll just have to check with the achievement. But I like this run a lot. We got almost 2,000 experience, a bunch of meta progression. The core was damaged for 3,000. Well, we took out almost 3,000 enemies as well. And we actually passed both qualifications, so we defeated the Spore Lord. And now we can play with the Behemoth in a future run. So I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like or subscribe, that'll keep motivating me to make videos like this. So I'll see you later.